Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I uploaded a video. The month of June was really busy for me, and I just didn't have time to squeeze in a video, but I'm back. I didn't go anywhere. I'm back with more Living Dead doll goodness. So my plan from here on end is that I am planning to do series videos from the series of 1 to 35, now that I have all the series dolls, including series 17, which I just completed earlier this year. And I also will be doing the Resurrection series as well. But before I do those videos, I do want to finish off the sub-series within Living Dead Dolls run. So today's video will be about this particular set called the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And just a real quick view. Just want to show you where they are listed. Displayed. There's displayed under my Sinister Minister and Bad Habit sets. Keeping with the biblical theme. In case you didn't know, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse is found in the New Testament, in the Bible, if you're a Catholic. This particular series was released in October of 2012 in the usual retailers that Living Dead dolls are sold from, like Hot Topic, Spencer's, etc. They also were available on Entertainment on Earth. You could buy them, the whole set from Entertainment on Earth. Now, they were released to coincide with the actual prediction of the end of the world, which was in 2012, but December was the day of the end of the world, so Living Dead dolls want to cash in on that. Now, it's not the first time Living Dead dolls reference a real world occurrence. They actually did this one more time in 2016. I'll show you that. So in 2016, for the presidential election, Living Dead dolls did come out with, partnership with Mezco, this Sadie for President, and you can see the date is for 2016. But this was the only other time that they commented on real world events, and it was just such a clever tie-in to something that was actually happening. And these dolls have a unique twist to the biblical 4 horsemen. So we're going to dive in and take a look up close of these dolls. Okay, the first doll we're going to talk about is Pestilence. Now, each of the dolls were sold individually. They were not sold together, so you did have to buy them separately. The interesting thing with this series, and it's the only series in Living Dead dolls history, that there are more male dolls than female dolls. Famine, the girl right here, that is the only female in the set. Because it is the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, so they made one of the horsemen a female. And they were about $25 each, not expensive. And you could still buy them today on the secondary market. I recommend if someone's selling them as a set, because they really do look cool as a set. I mean, if you do have a preference, by all means. Not one of them, I don't think there was a more popular one, or I'm not sure the production run. I believe it's an all equal amount of the dolls. So you should be able to find all of them. But I would recommend, if you want the whole set, it's much cheaper to buy them as a set. My husband did, and we actually got a really good deal for this set. So he comes with one of the best accessories for Living Dead dolls, and that's this adorable stick horse, or it's also known as the hobby horse. And each of the dolls have a unique hobby horse. So it's really cool. So there's one side, just really cool. It has a felt like material for the mane, and he can easily hold it in his hand. Now he You have to be very careful with the mask. He comes with this mask, and it's an up close of his face. It's really cool. Now, if you're a longtime collector of Living Dead dolls, or if you've been looking at Living Dead dolls, you might recognize this particular mask. It belongs to a, well, there's a character that has a similar mask named Jingles. And Jingles' mask is in black, where this is in white. I believe this series came after Jingles series, which was the Halloween series. So he has this jacket. His long coat, excuse me. It doesn't have a shirt underneath. He doesn't have a shirt underneath. Okay, the hat's attached. I don't believe there's a fastener. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm incorrect. So it is attached to this part, like a cowl of sorts. And it's a really cool doll. I'm not gonna do an unclothing of him. It's a lot of pieces. Now you have to be really careful with the mask because it's very fragile, and also beware that sometimes with these masks, okay, they do lose their elasticity. So I usually do not mess with his mask. And he does have, each of the dolls have a chipboard. And here's up close of Pestilence. Now the neat thing about the chipboard is that they have all the characters, but the one that's the focus, they are moved to the front. So while the other dolls are in the foreground. And it says, there before me was a white horse, and its rider rode out bent on pestilence. Not sure how accurate it is to the Bible, but that is what's written on his chipboard. All of them have the same exact looking chipboard, but they each say something different. And they do not come with a death certificate. Because again, this is a sub-series, and technically they're not dead. There's sort of, again, they're sort of like the Scary Tales, if you want to compare it to another series that doesn't have death certificates. So that is Pestilence. The next one is War. Now, War is interesting because in his stock photo, here's a picture of it, he was supposed to come with a helmet. So his final product, the release, he does not come with a helmet. Not sure why they didn't give him a helmet. I think it would have fit the entire look perfectly. He also comes with a hobby horse. Okay, it's the same on both sides. Even the hair is a little different. The shape of the hair is different, which is really cool. And he is dressed in different clothing from different periods of time where war has taken place. Here you have this medieval chainmail or material that's meant to look like chainmail. And then underneath he has these army fatigue pants. Really cool, along with these army boots. And again, his the outer garment here is very reminiscent of the Crusades, another famous battle in history. So he even has a little cape. And I'm going to be very careful. He does have a gas mask, which is very reminiscent of, if you know your history in terms of wars. I believe World War I had the first use of the gas mask. So he represents all the conflicts and what they looked like. So like I said, I'm going to remove the gas mask very slowly. Now underneath the mask, he is a bald doll. Underneath the mask, it's sort of like tribal war paint, like maybe like Native American. I'm not sure, but it's very interesting. And if you've been collecting Living Dead dolls or been researching and you recognize this accessory, this is the same exact gas mask that's used for Toxic Molly, one of Living Dead dolls' very famous iconic characters. Here's a picture of her. And it's just a really cool accessory. But with this particular accessory, just like Toxic Molly, you have to be really careful because the little romnets right here on the mask do fall off eventually. If you handle the mask too much, because the pulling of the mask on and off does pull on the romnets. Also, if it's too hot, the mask might show a little tear from the heat, and it affects these falling off. So you have to be very careful. This is the first time I actually removed his mask. I want to do a thorough job showing what he looks like underneath, in case you're curious and want to, get the doll for yourself. And you don't have to do it, because I already did it for you. So I'm just going to put his mask back on. Okay. There he is with his mask on. Now, the only thing about the mask is that it doesn't perfectly align with his eyes. I'm sure if you could work on it, you could get it to align, but I highly recommend do not mess with the mask too much. Because see right here, you can see the little grommets, they do pull away, so definitely be careful. Okay. And his chipboard, again, exactly the same as Pestilence. On a fiery red horse was a rider who was given power to take peace from the earth and make men slay each other. Very grim, but that is war. And the next doll, the only female of the group, she represents Famine. I think she is just so cute. Definitely a different face than a lot of the screaming dolls. Her pupils are very tiny. And I love how she represents starvation, that she actually has like a skeleton little dress. Her forearms and hands are painted. And her horse also, again, look how different the horse's hair is. Really cool. They really went out their way with this set. I just love the details. Okay, and just like the other horses, it's painted on both sides. That's the same image on the same side. She has these really cool boots, which they have used before, and to me they look a little bit more on the cowboy side. Really cute. She has a little lace underneath the coat, the skirt. It is 2 pieces, and nice hair, lovely hair, but better than most Living Dead dolls. And she has outside of along her face is like shading to make it look like a skull, almost like Kill Baby. If you're familiar with Kill Baby, very similar. And her chipboard, again, very similar. And it says, "There before me was a black horse, and its rider brought famine." Okay. Real cute. And that is Famine. Last but certainly not least is Death. Now, Death, this version of Death is interesting because he is dressed exactly the same in terms of like the color scheme, the style, but the material is very different from Living Dead Doll's first Death doll, which is from series 15. I do have him right here. So this is from series 15. I won't go in too much detail because I will talk about him when I talk about my series run dolls. And just to show you the difference. So they actually went out their way to not make, basically not to repackage him for this particular set. So they actually went out their way to make it different. So he has different shading than this Death over here. I'm trying to get both of them Okay. And their cloaks are very different in material. This has like more of a it's more sheer than his, which is very velvet in materials, is much heavier. And he has painted hands with the skeleton, but he doesn't, which I thought was interesting. They also did another death doll. It was called A Kiss of Death, and it's death in a kissing booth. Here's an image of that. I don't have that one. I thought it was a bit redundant. Personally, it looks a little too much like the Series 15 death. So he also comes with a horse. And again, look at the hair. Just really cool. And it's actually similar to Famine's horse, but it's a different color. And like I said, it's a very thin material. There's not much to him. I keep the clear band that it came with because it doesn't stay well on the head. And he doesn't stand well on his own, so I do have a doll stand with him. He has bare feet, just like the other deaf doll. And again, really cute. Really cute. And his chipboard. Okay. There before me was a pale horse. That's why his horse is the color it is. Its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him. And that is Death. And that's it. That's my overview of this wonderful series, The Four Horsemen. I highly recommend this series. It's so cool. And they did an amazing job. And honestly, what made me fall in love with this series is the fact that each one came with a hobby horse. Like, I just thought that was so adorable and hilarious at the same time. So, do your research. And again, if you're interested in the whole series, I highly suggest buying them all in one set. I think it'll be easier, but they don't cost a lot of money. You could easily buy them open. Just remember there is no death certificate, but do make sure they come with their horses, because it's the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. You need to have the horse. So anyway, stay tuned for more videos, and I am going to do a video room tour later this month, so stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. And as always, happy hunting.